9 o'clock, time to convene the regular board meeting for September, the Board of Directors of Fort Clark. Can we have a roll call for a quorum?
Robertson,
Here.
Sweet,
Here.
Herman,
Here.
Castle,
Here.
Hagan.
Here.
We have a quorum. Would somebody like to do the invocation? What, you do it, Katie?
Lord, look down upon us this morning and continue to shower us with the many blessings that you have given us here at Fort Clark Springs. Thank you for the rains. Bless each and every person here and the families that they represent. Please bless our government and our troops who are facing additional challenges overseas. We ask all of this in Jesus' name.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
The Scottish thing?
The Scottish thing.
I don't know, I don't get a paper anymore, because it's delivered.
I guess our first item is announcements and correspondence.
I don't have any correspondence.
Then reading and approval of the minutes of August 16th. We have a motion to approve.
I move them, the minutes from the last meeting be approved.
I second.
All in favor? Unanimous in favor?
We need to go out of discussion.
Oh,
Okay, I was just going to say there are a couple of,
okay, I guess we need to, I forgot discussion. Did you want to make any comments, Marta?
no, I wanted you to notice that we did need to do that.
Oh. Daily operations report?
I stopped by this morning to, can everybody hear me? I stopped by this morning, there's we're in an interim operations setting right now, so what's going on is we have a job posting going up for an accountant for the fort. We're working on the job posting for a new director of operations. Other than that, we are trying to keep business going as usual. We have Oktoberfest scheduled for October 18th. Golf tournament, German food in the restaurant, and a band. We have a large corporate group coming on the weekend of the 25th to use the golf course and other facilities. They're from Austin. We have a district cross-country meet scheduled for October 22nd. We're working with the school district on. And we are working with the Chamber of Commerce for their first annual goat cook-off. We haven't got that finalized yet. And Seminole Days is currently going on in the fort, so if you see groups out around the fort doing some special things, you'll know what that's for.
Could we clear up the $6,000 stove? It was asked about this morning already once at the cafe.
A $6,000 stove?
That's one comment this morning was asked. So if we could stop those rumors now.
Sure. It was determined that the stove that we had at the restaurant was a little too wide and had pushed the deep fryer about this far out past the hood vent. So we were instructed to change that. So we located a stove. The total cost of the stove was $3,005. We sold the old stove for $1,500 with a net cost of $1,500. This is within the budget that was set for the restaurant. We had set a $20,000 budget for the restaurant. We've spent about $14,000, so $6,000 under budget. And it was either that or close the restaurant down, so we did that.
I just wanted to tell you, we didn't come up with that ourselves. The fire marshal insisted on it.
Yes.
And John Rozetsky had brought that up some time back, and I asked about that, and everybody told me that, oh no, it was all under the range hood, but evidently they're supposed to be within 6 inches of the
When-
edge of the range hood.
The last fire marshal was here, didn't say anything about it, and we're good to go. This particular fire marshal told us we weren't, so we made our choice.
The,
What about the remainder of that budget? Does it go over to this next year, or is that canceled?
I guess it's up to us.
no, it stops with the fiscal year.
Yep, so we're done with that.
Committee and organization reports, architectural.
Now, we had 6 applications for permits. 2 were tabled for lack of information. They were later approved. And we sent out 3 letters reminding the applicants that their permits were about to expire. It's important that the applicant or representative be at the meeting, because if we have questions, we will table the permit.
The golf committee,
The golf committee met on last Wednesday, but we did not have a quorum. But we had a person there that was putting on the Happy Cervantes tournament, so we did talk with him and a helper. The golf committee did help put that tournament on last weekend. There were a total of 27 teams, 2-man teams. And we also, between the last meeting and this meeting, we had 2 work days. We had a total of 7 people show up on the first work day, with 2 people going out and spraying the cart paths with weed killer the day before. A total of 9 people on the first work day, and we had a big whopping 3 people on the second work day. So all these people that are griping and complaining about the golf course don't really care that much about it, except to be able to complain, I suppose. Of course, the tournament brought in golfers. They had motel rooms. They used the restaurant. And that was a very nice tournament, because also, once that tournament is over, any proceeds left over, it does go into the golf course. The man has asked the golf committee to maybe continue helping with that tournament, so that could be a tournament that we could push a little harder, especially to do things with the golf course also. The committee has several, we have the Oktoberfest tournament coming up. We're planning a Thanksgiving tournament. We have the end of the month tournament this month, the end of the month tournament in November, the Christmas tournament, the end of the month in December, January hangover tournament, so we've been pretty busy.
My house will get clobbered.
the preservation committee,
Okay, Garland is out of town, so he asked me to give the report. The committee mailed out requests for bids for repairs needed on the Service Club and Seminole Hall. 2 of the contractors will be looking at the projects this week, and as soon as we receive the bids from the contractors, we're going to call a special meeting to award the contracts. We prioritized our future projects to number 1, windows on the fire station, 2, the adult center, 3, art studio roof and outer wall leaks, and 4, the commissary. Garland is researching who can do the repair on the rock wall that collapsed in the front near the riderless horse, and we'll bring this information before the committee when he has it. Then we'll give the same priority to that as to the fire station. Obviously, we don't want any more collapse. And Garland is also going to check with an individual about seeing if she can write grants for our historical buildings so we can fully repair them. And this person was present at our open budget meeting and is willing to write grants for the fort where permissible. That's where we stand in preservation.
community council.
Community Council met last Saturday, and some of the things that we talked about. I had requested from the IRS an original copy, or a copy of our original 1023 application for a 501c3. It's been beyond 90 days, so I'm contacting the IRS on that again. We are going to continue our 60-40 split donation from Fort Clark Days, 60% going to the Preservation Committee, 40% to Community Council to support Fort Clark Days. We were going to present that check this morning, but then when I saw that it's on the agenda, a reading to establish the Restoration and Preservation Committee, I just decided we'd put it off another month on that. But just know we do have some funds there when those appraisals come in, if more money is needed immediately. Norma Rowland has decided to resign as chairperson of Fort Clark Days with the resignation of Jody. So we are going to be looking for a new person to be the overall chair for Fort Clark Days. There's been some discussion about whether we want to pay that person a small stipend to oversee everything. And that conversation is going to continue after I meet with the board this morning. We're going to talk about the memorandum of agreement. Is that correct? We're doing that in executive session. So that conversation will continue. We are going to repeat this year again the Halloween Ghostly Tour. We have 4 nights for that. We are limiting the people who can attend to 49 each night, so we're underneath that 50. The dates are October 17th and 18th, the Friday and Saturday night, and October 24th and 25th. We will be at Rendezvous Park. We've graciously been granted that without without having to pay insurance or rental on it. And there will be something in the papers that comes up to tell you how to sign up for those nights. If you want to sign up today and be first on the list, be happy to do that. Adults are going to be $5. We're not changing the prices over last year, so I have to look up to see how much students will cost for that. Under the new business, we are actually going to, instead of meeting on the second Saturday in October, we're going to meet on the first Saturday, which is October 4th. And the reason for that is because the Rio Grande Electric annual meeting is in Fort Stockton. Fort Stockton is only about 3 hours away, so we may have a number of members who want to attend the Fort Stockton annual meeting of our Rio Grande Electric, RGEC, rather than coming to Community Council. We were able to announce that the e-newsletter is going to be sent out twice a month, once early in the month and then once again to announce the agenda. And I appreciate the board for making that happen. And then we had a guest speaker, Jerry Miller, talking about the dog shelter over in Brackenville. And then during the comment section, Judy Winchell talked about hoping to set up a feral cat program here on the Fort. And all the implications of that, getting the feral cats spayed and neutered at a cheaper cost than rabies shots. And that was about it. Again, our next meeting will not be October 11th. Our next meeting will be October 4th, the first Saturday in October. Thank you.
Thank you. Recycling?
We sent out a load last Monday. The center stays busy. One of the highlights is that the price sheet came out for September and the prices have gone up rather markedly over what they have been over the summer, especially plastics. So we're good for that. We didn't get a full load out this last time, so we will have another pickup probably within a few weeks.
Thank you. The RV? Oh,
Are we still accepting electronics? I've been asked.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We're doing it until October 17th.
I have another question for all of these committees. I know that Community Council is open to anyone, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
And
So, everybody.
I believe Architectural Committee is open to everyone. Is golf open to everyone?
Yes. Yes.
And Preservation, would that be open to anyone?
Yes. Yes.
Just making sure that you get more people at your meetings.
Right. Y'all come, yeah.
I do have a question though from Community Council because our bylaws do say that members in good standing are voting. And I understand that we fall under the the Texas law a little differently than Fort Clark Springs Association does. So when we have our elections in January, it will be members in good standing who are allowed to vote, but everybody who's on the fort is allowed to come to our meetings. You're automatically a member of community council when you're a member of the fort.
And you said November, what was the limit for the electronics?
October 17th,
October 17th is the limit for
they
bringing,
will be picking them up that day.
so if everybody's got electronic recyclables like computer stuff primarily, right?
Right, no household appliances this year.
So any electronic computer
radios?
devices,
We can still do radios?
Radios, televisions, computers,
Cell
any telephone equipment, anything that you might use in your household that would be considered audiovisual, for sure.
I just want to make sure everybody heard October 17th then, right?
Yes.
But they can keep bringing, when recycle is open, you can bring them continuously. Every Thursday and Saturday as we're open, you can bring that stuff over now. You don't have to wait till October 17th.
I have a question. Does that include like cords? Because like I have all these cords, I don't know what they go to anymore.
Bring them along, yes. I know, we all have a bunch of
Yeah,
those.
stop at my house on the way.
Modems,
Printers.
printers, mice, all that. Just please, if you bring printers, don't leave an ink or toner cartridge in them. Because if you do, we'll start face painting.
Uh-oh.
The RV? Nothing from RV.
I don't know if it started until.
Our next item is discussion approval of the 2014-15 budget.
Yeah. I make a motion.
To what?
Oh, to discuss and/or approve the 2014-2015 budget.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Oh.
Usually you just slow down and everybody gets to discuss.
My question, I wanted to make sure that the members here knew we have a budget that is bare bones and we're not going to make it if we stay there. And we have a budget that includes additional funds, and we'll talk about that part later, but I just want to make sure we're not talking about huge raises in what's going on with this one we're approving, right?
Now I'll call the question if you like.
Yeah.
Well, you have to vote on opening the item up and then discuss it.
No,
And
no, you have the motion which you discuss and then you discuss it and then you approve it.
Any other discussion?
And I called the question, so they can have it.
All in favor?
Of approving?
Of approving?
Approving the budget. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
It's early, guys.
The discussion and approval of appointment of an interim director.
What happened to the
Skip
levy?
one.
Oh, levy. Discussion of the 2014-15 levy. I've got a sinus headache that's killing me and I can't see very good.
That's okay, I can, do you need aspirin or anything, or?
Who wants to suffer?
I have several pills already. It's not very well.
Okay, I move for discussion of the 2014-2015 levy.
I second.
Discussion?
Well, based on what Myrna just mentioned about the bare bones budget, I think we are going to be forced to have a levy to pay up some of our bills. Because we still have some bills on paper, I guess you would say, from the last levy because we didn't get everybody paying what they were supposed to pay.
Since your microphone's not working, maybe you could borrow some.
Oh,
They
did you
can't
not
hear
hear
you.
me? I'm sorry. Is that better? Hey, Yogi? No, I think we have to have a budget, a levy, because we have bills. The budget that we have just passed is bare bones. So we're gonna have expenses, because expenses keep going up. And we also have some, I guess, bills left over from previous levy that wasn't completely paid for. So we have to get that money in also, and then have a new levy for bills to be paid.
We have outstanding bills that we haven't paid?
No, we've got a large, if you include depreciation and bad debt, we have a large deficit. And the levy may be used for taxes, assessments, and other expenses, operations and capital improvements, and for budget debt.
Well, Bill said we had bills from the last levy we hadn't got paid yet.
No, I think is that what you meant?
What I
Our
meant
bill-
was
Our bills
that-
are paid, guys.
Yeah,
We don't
that
have
the
any
levy,
outstanding.
the last levy that was imposed, what, not everybody has paid for it,
Paid their part.
paid their part.
In fact, we billed 2,663 memberships. We collected for a total of $111,846. We collected $88,596 with a deficit still of $23,250. That still has either moved out for collections or it's been written off as bad debt. So some of these people, some of these members, we don't know. I guess we'd have to have collections tell you exactly why some of these things were paid, weren't paid, as usual, but that's how it stands. So we didn't collect, we were short $23,000 of what we should have collected because people did not pay. So again, you members who were paid are shouldering the burden for all of those who did not.
One reason was the letter said pay at your convenience, or
Forgot about that. When that levy was sent out, the letter said pay at your convenience, did not have a pay date. So maybe 2 years later is convenient, but whatever happened, we didn't collect $23,000 of it. This letter won't say that.
you will have a big.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll go on to reading the proposed amended election bylaws. Did we ever get those back from the lawyer?
You can skip one again.
Discussion and approval of appointment of interim director.
It's not really a discussion because one of us needs to explain what happened. I'll just hand it good.
Do you want a motion?
It's the appointment.
Yes. I move that we appoint for, actually, rather than interim director, interim operations managers, 2 people. One of them is Monique Jensen, the other one, Rihanna Hay, to continue the daily operations of the fort,
Along with their other duties.
along with their other duties. Yes.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second for the appointment of the interim director, Rihanna Hay and Monique Jensen. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, do we have a vote? All in favor? Carries unanimously. Now, I guess, reading the proposed amended election bylaws.
Oh, that's fine.
Did we ever get those back from the lawyer? Or- So there's nothing to read then, right?
There is.
We absolutely have to have the committee in September, and this is September. The committee can be called either the old one or the new one. but we've already talked about this at several meetings, but this would be the first reading, and the only thing that might change would be anything that the lawyers considered not in keeping with the law or whatever. And that's why I wanted to bring this to a vote. It would be not a vote, it would be the first reading. It needs to be read twice. But that committee needs to be appointed now. I sent out a letter suggesting that since Sandy, Roby, and I are suspect because we might run, that B and Bill come up with two to three people apiece. And I don't know if if you did that or not.
No, I did not. But are you talking about people to?
They would either be a nominating committee or a search and certification
Okay, I see what
committee.
okay. That's what I was getting at, yes.
Okay, so we have to do this at this meeting.
Any ideas?
Go back to this, what you asked. You are there, okay. You can discuss it if you like. This has been.
I would,
Sure.
This has been on the agenda several times now. I worked with Dan Sullivan as the chair. Maybe you'd like to field questions, Dan?
I will. The bylaws charge the board of directors with appointing a nominating committee at its regular September meeting, which just is. And until the new bylaws are adopted by the board, it would seem to me you have to go by the existing ones that you have right now. And so that would require you to appoint a nominating committee at this meeting.
Which we can't do. We need a committee, but we can't call it the nominating committee because what that committee used to do was come up with names for the board of directors.
Correct.
Now, our new reading of this would be that the committee helps find people, but it doesn't cut it off at a certain number of names. It takes anyone who wants to be considered.
Basically, anybody that wants to run can just give their name to that committee.
Unless they're a felon or have been involved in moral turpitude. Those are the only things that would keep you from becoming a board member.
And then I guess,
We still need 5 people for the committee, and they do a lot, they actually do a lot of stuff as far as the ballots and.
Yeah, they are the ones that make sure that everything is legal as we go through this. A board member can work with them, but they cannot chair it, nor can they be a voting member of the committee.
I would suggest that that's what you need to do, then, is appoint a committee, you can call it whatever you like, search and certification, whatever, and move forward so the process takes place.
Would it be helpful, Myrna, to go ahead and read this so that the people that might want to be involved in this at least understand what it is that they're going to do?
Maybe you could get some volunteers right here now,
Maybe.
willing to serve on that committee. Hands up, folks.
Why don't we read what they're going to do first? Just.
Yeah.
You go ahead. I'm having a bit of the same problem that Roby's having.
Do you want me to read?
I have a fine, I don't have the headache, but I got that other stuff.
I'll volunteer to serve on the committee. Just one. Anybody else? There you go, Debbie.
Well,
It'd be nice if we get some winter Texans on it.
we have to do it in September, and there looks like the only 5 people we got.
Judy?
Ms. Winchell, Ms. Isaacs,
Dan?
Mr. Rozensky, and Ms. Overlock, and Mr. Sullivan.
So what you're saying is the people who want to run
all
have
of
to
them.
apply to whatever paperwork we're gonna have.
Right, if they complete their paperwork
And return,
by
give it to those.
I don't know, whatever deadline the committee sets.
I have Winchell, Isaac, Sullivan, Oblong.
I would move that Debbie Isaacs, with her seniority, be appointed as the chairman of the committee.
And she just loves more chairmanships.
Bring forth all that experience from the golf course. All or more.
Thank you, Dan.
Do we have paperwork for that?
For what?
I just got a question. What if one of the people on the committee decide to run? And then you have to appoint somebody else,
Yes.
correct?
Right.
Yes.
And that's been on, when is that deadline? October?
For filing?
No, you are no longer nominating, so the deadline would be what you set. Right, Dan?
I thought there was a timeline that you had to have those in by.
There is, I don't have my copy.
Oh,
Do you wish to read that now?
We don't know because of the new rules that have been put in that.
it isn't a lot different. There were some wording changes and some things that they felt would make them less open to, what are they calling the voter?
At the time being, you're gonna run under the existing bylaws that could be changed prior to that by
Except for-
next month.
Except for those bylaws that are in direct conflict with the law.
And that would be calling it the nominating committee.
Just to clarify this for anyone that's not sure, although our new revised election bylaws are not in effect, of course, because they have not been adopted, what Myrna is putting forth here is that we stay in compliance with Texas law. And so Texas law is in effect.
Everything has to be, everything.
Thank you,
goes-
Dan, you explained that very nicely.
Everything has to go out in January, so you can do this through November.
Why don't we just read it to everybody?
Yeah, just read that.
Would you like me to read it?
That's what you were gonna do, right? Yeah.
All right.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Because I had problems with somebody.
Okay, Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., a resolution amending the bylaws of the Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., Texas Nonprofit Corporation. Be it resolved by the Board of Directors of Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., that the bylaws are hereby amended as follows. That Article 4, Section 3 be deleted in its entirety and replaced with the following. 3, election and term of office. Members of the Board of Directors of the association shall be elected as provided herein to serve a term of 3 years. If the number of directors is increased, the initial term of office for the additional positions may be fewer than 3 years as determined by the Board of Directors. A director shall hold office for the term he/she is elected and until his/her successor is elected and qualified. Any director may be removed by a majority vote of the members at either an annual membership meeting or a special meeting held for such purpose, provided notice of such removal proposition be given to all members with the notice of such meeting. Directors shall be elected as follows. B, qualifications of candidates for the board director shall have been a Fort Clark Springs Association member for at least 1 year prior to date of annual membership meeting at which he/she would take office. 2, shall not be eligible to serve as a member of the board of directors if he/she holds a family recreation membership only. Shall be a minimum of 21 years of age. Shall be willing to serve if elected. Shall have waited 1 year after completing a second 3-year term before being appointed or re-elected to the board of directors. 6, shall not derive income from Fort Clark Springs Association or subsidiary, whether as a paid employee or one who provides goods or services to the association, or who may directly benefit financially by any action of the board of directors, or have any interest in any property or equipment which the association acquires. Directors are not prohibited the ownership of securities in publicly owned companies, except a substantial amount in those in a position to materially influence or affect the policies of the association. Full disclosure of any ownership in any such publicly owned company is required. 7, shall not serve as a voting member of any committee appointed by the board of directors while serving concurrently on the board of directors. 8, shall not be related to any employee by blood, consanguinity within the 3rd degree, or by marriage or cohabitation affinity within the 2nd degree. shall be willing to adhere to the Board of Directors' Code of Ethics as spelled out in these bylaws, and shall disclose any situation which violates, may violate, or could appear to violate the intent of this Code of Ethics. C, Search and Certification Committee. 1. At its regular September meeting, the Board of Directors shall appoint a Search and Certification Committee comprised of 5 members. The committee's purpose is to encourage association members to run for the board, to accept applications, to certify that those who wish to run have met the qualifications described therein. 2. Qualifications of committee members. Shall be an association member at the time of appointment, shall be willing to serve. 3. Duties of committee members. Search for and accept all applications from persons thought to be interested in and qualified for serving on the association board of directors. B. Certify that each candidate meets the qualifications necessary to serve on the board. C. Accept all such certified candidates to appear on the ballot and who meet the published deadline for completion of applications. D. Establish reasonable deadlines for applications and submission of materials to be mailed with the ballot. E. Submit the list of certified candidates' names to the Board of Directors at their regular January meeting. At this time, the order in which candidates will appear on the ballot will be determined by lot. E. Election notification requirements. Each association member shall be notified each year on or before November 10th, either by letter or by a publication that is sent to the entire membership of any change to A. Election procedures. B. Definition of the eligibility of candidates for the board, voters. C. Deadlines for submitting applications to run for the board, submission of materials for the ballot. F. Election procedures. 1. All elections shall be determined by mailed ballot. 2. There shall be no proxy vote since all votes are by mail. 3. Each membership in the association shall be entitled to a vote by mail. 4. Annual election, tabulation and certification of the mailed votes shall be handled by an impartial auditing firm designated by the Board of Directors. A. The auditing firm's address shall be the return address for all ballots mailed. B. Ballots returned as undeliverable shall be destroyed by the auditing firm. 5. The mailing committee shall be responsible for the security, preparation for, and mailing of ballots. This committee shall be comprised of the Association Board of Directors Secretary as chair. If this individual is running for re-election, an alternate board member shall serve. B. 2 representatives appointed by each candidate to carry out the preparation of the ballot mailings. 6. The Director of Operations shall prepare, certify the accuracy of, and furnish to the mailing committee by January 15th the following. A. Membership list as of January 1st. B. Mailing labels for each membership. This label shall be affixed to the back of each ballot. 7. After lots have been drawn for ballot placement on the January Board of Directors meeting, the Director of Operations shall by February 3rd have ballots, candidates' resumes, pros and cons for any proposals printed. This material, along with envelopes addressed to the auditor and mailing labels, shall be ready for the mailing committee. 8. Prior to February 11th, the mailing committee shall prepare all materials described above for mailing. The committee shall also mail the certified list of eligible voters to the auditors. Voters returning ballots, that's number 9. Voters returning ballots to the auditors. A, must sign each ballot returned. B, must return only 1 ballot per envelope. 10. The auditor will compare the mailing label attached to the ballot to the certified list of memberships to verify a legal ballot. 10. That should be 11. No additional ballot shall be given or sent to any member for any reason. 12. Members may vote for other than those whose names appear on the ballot by writing in names of qualified individuals who have agreed to serve if elected. 13. The results, as certified by the auditor, shall be presented at the annual membership meeting by a representative of the auditing firm. At that time, the newly elected directors shall be sworn in by an officer of the association, and the outgoing directors shall step down. The new board of directors shall then choose and elect the officers of the association in compliance with these bylaws. 14. A plurality of the votes cast by those entitled to vote and voting shall constitute an election. The candidates receiving the most votes shall be elected. In case of a tie, choice shall be by lot. 14. A vacancy, if such should exist at the time of the annual election, for an unexpired term shall be filled by the first runner-up to the winners of the annual election. In the event there is more than one unexpired term to be filled, the longest unexpired term shall be awarded to the first runner-up, the next longest unexpired term to the second runner-up, and so forth. The end.
Okay, so, oh,
Thank you, Sandy, and that's, reading is required by our bylaws, by the way. The, one thing that I would mention is I believe that when it comes back from the attorneys, there's a couple of things in there that are not gonna be allowed by law. One is, I believe, the 1-year membership requirement, and the other is I suspect that the age of 21 will be changed to 18. So, just to keep that in mind.
And we'll have to add that language about felony convictions.
Yes.
They will probably have it.
Yeah.
And I want to change this, to ballots, if they're gonna destroy them on us, that they get returned. We need to update our requirements.
Why do you want to amend the bylaws of the election of board members? It's been enforced for 50 years or more, and there's nothing wrong with it. Why do you want to alter?
well, because there's some of it needs to be brought up with current law. It needs to be so that it's under current law, legal. Some of the things have changed, like you have to be a good, possibly a good member, a member in good standing. They have to take that out, I think. But that's what they're gonna look at. Those are the only real changes that are gonna be made to it.
You mean the legislature passed this law?
Yes.
Yes.
When did they do that?
2012.
July 12th. Okay. But do we have to have the whole works changed just because of that?
Most of it's not changed. Most of it's about the same as it was before. Now we're,
You need to state that that's the first reading.
and that was the end of the first reading of the proposed amended election bylaws.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
When you said that they were to be destroyed by the people that are counting the votes, that isn't helping us, and because the next year we'll send the same things out, and that's costly. I would think they could just keep hold of them, send them back to us after the election is final, and then we take.
Can I
off our
respond?
books.
There are two things. Let me let Dan answer one thing, and I'm going to answer the other. The November 10th requirement that it be mailed out, or that they receive it, some notice of election, could cover that. The other one is from Dan's committee, and I'll let him answer your question.
Regarding destroying the ballots?
Right.
There have been some people, and I'll say I'm not included, that have been concerns over the security of the election. And if there is a list compiled and made available to certain people of all those that never receive their mail, that don't receive it, there could be the appearance that someone could use that list to end up sending in multiple ballots by using those names and address, knowing that those people won't get them. And so I think you want an election that has absolutely no appearance of anything at all. And there's really no need for the administration office to have that list. They can compile it themselves by their own records that they have on other correspondence and payment of dues and so on. They don't really need those ballots. And so that's why we're going that way.
So it still would be a cost to the poor if this is hypothetical, that we had 5,000 ballots to go out every year, but and 4,000 were sent back to us. We're going to send them out year after year after year.
No, that's
Well-
another issue, that the membership rolls have to be cleaned up, and that can be addressed along the way. And it's very important that we bring that up, that be done.
And law mandates we send them out even if we know they're gonna come back. We have to send them out.
Well, how do we stop it?
Well, should have been working on cleaning the membership up for the last 3 years, and we finally are a little bit. That's what we have to do, is get rid of all the people that aren't actually members. This one.
Actually, is it not in the, shall we say, the new laws that are out there, that you must send a mailing at least 2 to 3 times after it comes back to verify that it wasn't just a mistake in the post office? But if you don't keep track of those mailings by giving the administration the list of returned ballots, for example, that extends the period of time that we have to keep on sending mailings. That was the reason to have those things tabulated. They don't have to have addresses attached to them, simply names not responding 3 times, they come off the mailing list.
I don't think that's correct by state law.
This simply protects, as pointed out to me, the integrity of the board and the integrity of the membership on this vote. And there is a record of who they sent them out. You know, they have a complete, the people that handle the auditing firm will have a membership list and a list of everybody they sent one to. You don't need to have a list of who didn't get it, who didn't receive it. As long as they can see we sent this list out to everybody.
Dan, was there some incident that happened in the past that led you to do this?
It's an appearance, and also the fact is that many organizations, the election is not touched by the hands of the members or the board. Your mud district down here is one. It goes off to a third party that does the whole thing. Rio Grande Electric is another. There's companies that handle the whole election, and neither the members nor the board lay one finger on anything involving the election. And that's all, so they don't get a list of who doesn't receive ballots. And that's all under compliance with Texas law.
Have you considered using another auditing firm?
Yes.
The one we've been using has been, and at one point in time, somebody has already known the results of the election, congratulating the person before the results.
We are soliciting bids from other firms, other auditing companies.
Any other comments? I guess we'll move on to number 12, which we've kind of already done, discussion and approval of the appointment of the Search and Certification Committee for the 2015 election.
Okay, I move that we approve the committee of volunteers. Judy Winchell, Debbie Isaacs, Dan Sullivan, Carolyn Oblock, is that correct? John Wasetsky.
Do we have a second?
Oh, yes, I second. Wait up.
Any discussion? All in favor? All voting in favor, unanimous. Number 13, reading and resolution reestablishing the Restoration and Preservation Committee.
Go on, kid, you're on a roll.
Okay, this is the second reading. Resolution 2014-01, Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., a resolution to reestablish the Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc. Historical Building Restoration and Repair Committee. Be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., FCSA, that said directors do hereby reestablish the Historic Building Restoration and Repair Committee as follows. The committee will consist of 8 members. 1 non-voting Board of Director member. 2 representatives of the Fort Clark Historical Society. 2 representatives of the Fort Clark Springs Community Council. 2 members in good standing at large, and 1 member of the Kinney County Historical Commission. Be it resolved that the term for a member on the committee be for 3 years. A member may choose to serve for 2 consecutive terms, but not to exceed 6 years for any 1 member. After 1 year absence, a member may be able to sit on the committee for another term. Be it further resolved that the purpose of this committee will be A, to continue the work of monitoring the condition of historic buildings in the Fort Clark Historical District owned by Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., and B, to promote maintenance as required to preserve and protect said buildings. Funds necessary to perform this maintenance will continue to be provided from the Fort Clark Historical Building Preservation Fund established by the corporate resolution of the Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., Board of Directors, April 30th, 2008. Such work as required may be performed through contract with professional contractor specialists by the FCSA Maintenance Department, or, if appropriate, through volunteer labor at no cost. Be it resolved that this resolution shall remain in full force and effect until an amendment or recession order has been passed by a majority vote of the Board of Directors of the FCSA. The above resolution shall become effective as of July 2014 and passed and approved by Board of Directors, Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., acting in regular session on whatever day and year.
The only comment I still have about that is, who has control over writing the checks still, so that they can't run off amok with,
The accounting department has all the checks, and they are the ones that do it. Yep.
It's in-house.
Along with
admin.
Not the committee.
Not the committee.
okay.
Carla has all the checkbooks, or had all the checkbooks for that.
I have a question. Where it says that after a 1 year or 1 term absence, if you run 2, serve 2 years, 6 years, then you have to be off for 1 3-year term. And then it says that you can run again for another term. Does that preclude the fact they may want to run for 2 more terms? Or just 1 term?
It can be 6 years, but you have to have a break. You have to have, right now, there's people that's been on that committee from day one. And that was established in 2009, I think, 2008.
But here it says that they may be able to sit on the committee for another term.
Term is
Well,
3
just
years.
like, you can sit on this here for a 2-year term if you're reelected.
I understand
Then
that.
you have to come off. That's the same thing.
But on this committee though, can you run for 2 more terms after you have
After
the
you're
one?
off for a year.
Okay, that's not very clear, that it says that.
It says after 1 year absence, a member may be able to sit on the committee for another term. That term is 3 years.
Yes, but what about another term after that?
Well,
That's up to the person who is sitting, if they want to continue.
But it doesn't say,
The first sentence defines the total number of consecutive terms. The second sentence defines that there's 1 year break before.
It was just to allow more people to come in. Somebody's been on there for 7 years, 6 years, or whatever, and it was never opening up. The original bylaws never allowed anybody else to come on.
That makes sense, but I think what B is asking is different, right?
yeah, it's just that it says term singular, not
It should be termed.
terms. And they could run 6 years, off 3, 6 years, off 3.
No,
No, off one.
off 1.
Oh, excuse me, off 1, but then they have the option of trying to serve for 6 more years if they want.
Well, they have to serve for 3 and then have an option for the next 3. They don't get 6 years.
Exactly.
I think that's clear.
Yeah, it's only a 3-year term at a time.
Yes.
That is the
Not
second,
objecting, clarifying.
so that is the second reading.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, do we have a vote to approve?
I will move that we approve the resolution after approve the resolution 2014-01 after the second reading.
I'll second that motion. I'd like to point out that the two typos actually, chose needs to be choose and, Debbie, you said this should be terms, right, okay. And those are not changing anything, they're just clarifying. All right, thank you.
So a motion has been made and seconded to approve the Restoration and Preservation Committee. With corrections as mentioned. All in favor? Everybody voted unanimously to approve. Discussion to reestablish the Recreation Committee.
Simple discussion. there have been some calls for the Recreation Committee to create new recreation programs, potlucks, different kinds of events, and we discussed it with David Box, the event coordinator, and he was thrilled with the idea that we would have a committee, recreation committee made up of members to assist him come up with ideas and to perhaps volunteer for other jobs during events. So as I understand it, it was before my time, we had a recreation committee at one time and they didn't receive much support from the board. So you're going to get support from the board. I'm all for it. Events coordinator's all for it. Yeah, within reason, obviously. I'm not going to give you unlimited funds or anything.
I'd like to be sure that we get some Winter Texans on the committee. We're using up this little group rapidly.
Right. And I think that's a good idea because a lot of our volunteer staff comes from Winter Texans, which is why we hold large events like the Los Morris Golf Tournament before they all leave. So.
Why don't we have David? Hello? Hello? Why don't we have David in the next newsletter, put out a call for volunteers? And that way we would have an answer on volunteers at the next board meeting.
I think they need, anybody that would like to volunteer for the recreation committee needs to make something known at the office and leave their name and phone number up there at the office, and we'll have those.
They could contact David directly.
But if he puts it in the e-letter which comes out at the beginning of the next month, then by the meeting, we'll have
The next meeting,
information.
we've got a list of people
Exactly.
that would like to be interested in forming a recreation committee. A 15-minute member discussion period.
Hold on to 5 minutes.
And we need to make sure we're about 5 minutes on our conversation. Mr. Baker?
Ready?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Can you hear me? I would like to ask the board that if they would hire a manager who is a manager, not somebody that wants to be a manager, not a non-manager, maybe we'd get something done and everything would run smooth, but it isn't gonna run very smooth unless we hire a manager. And we cannot stand another non-manager. We've had all we need for the last 20 years or more of non-managers, and that's where we are right today. When I moved here 20 years ago, we had lots of money. Investments, drawing interest, surplus that we didn't need. Now I guess we haven't got anything we don't need. So we've gone down the hill for the 20 years and maybe before. We can't stand it another time. We just got to have a manager that can operate this thing. The other thing is, I'd like all the members pull their dictionary out and see what define means. It doesn't mean what we voted on, but you'll have to find out when you look at the a dictionary what it means. So, but I've had a lot of other things, but I don't think there's any reason to discuss them here. I think that's oh yeah, and I think you need to hire a manager before you levy some more money on us. But I think also, well, I know that we lose members every time we raise the dues. And if we don't know why we're raising the dues, a lot of people are not going to pay. And we're losing money, according to this bill, every 3 months. We've lost a lot of money. In a year's time, we're going to lose a lot more money if we operate the way we've been operating for the last 2 or 3 or 4, 5, 6 years, or 10 years, or 20 years. So I wish you'd keep something in mind to hire a good